this week I came across a really, really good quote. It was from the CEO of Microsoft. His name is Satya Nadella. And he was asked, what do you look for in a new hire? And here's what his answer was. He said, does the person create clarity? And does the person create energy? And when that quote hit me, I was like, wow, 100%. By the way, if I sound congested, I'm getting over a cold, but I was like, wow, totally. Like in the workplace, it's such a big problem when people cannot clearly communicate. There's just confusion over like, what is the issue here? But to the second part, does the person create energy? How do you create energy? I mean, is it about like motivating others? Is it about creating energy in yourself? In the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, he talks about energy a lot. Here's a quote. The way that Tony Kukoc was introduced to me and Scotty, I didn't appreciate it, and it drove my energy. So the legend Michael Jordan knew how to create energy. But that's like internal, isn't it? That's like within yourself. How do you energize yourself in the workplace? Is it just about being a high energy person yourself? And another question, do we have to be like hypomanic? Right now I'm reading The Hypomanic Edge by John Gartner. And it's about how various successful figures throughout history were all very high in energy to the point where some people suspect that these individuals were actually hypomanic. And to weave in just one more source, converging evidence, if you will, this very week I was watching the recent Tony Robbins seminar, Time to Rise. And in that video, he says, the number one thing you need in order to change your life is more energy. Being able to put ourselves in a high energy state is everything. So what can we make of all of this? Although I think food, sleep, caffeine, they all boost energy, they all help. Energy ultimately, as Tony Robbins said in his seminar, comes from the mind. And all the examples throughout The Last Dance and Michael Jordan and his energy concur with this. They all are about him interpreting something going on where he's upset or he had a bad game, he needs to come back the next game, and he uses that as fuel. And what if we look at other contexts where we use the word energy, such as clean energy, fossil fuels, etc.? You can't just take like fossil fuels, you can't just take gasoline and like put that in your body and it's going to fuel. But it can fuel a machine that is designed to run on gasoline. Difference being, a car and automobile does not have consciousness, but the physical body does. However, a physical body with no food is not going to be able to work. So there's a few prerequisites to have energy. I think for me, the main strategy I use these days is to start small and build momentum. So if there's a day where I'm a little bit stuck and I'm not moving forward, not doing things, I feel like I hit a plateau, what I do is, well, first of all, I try to act fast enough to prevent myself from getting caught in an endless black hole of doom scrolling through Instagram and Facebook Reels. And if I'm lucky enough to accomplish that, then what I do is I pick something super small, like let's say there's like one dish in the sink that needs to be washed. I'll say, okay, I'm just going to do this one dish. And my brain thinks like, oh yeah, I could do this. Okay. So I do that. And as I'm washing the dish, I'm like, you know what? I forgot, like I need to replace the paper towels in my bathroom or something like that. So as soon as I finish that up, boom, I go to the bathroom, fix the paper towels, and like that sort of snowballing effect. There's actually a book on this. It's called The Winner Effect, The Neuroscience of Success and Failure. It's a great book and explains why our minds function this way. So I think that's a big piece, is being able to go from zero motion to, all right, here I have some momentum. Now I think the trap for a lot of us, and at least the trap that I fell into for a long time, but I'm getting better at, is we'll build that momentum, right? So it's like a plane kind of taking off, gaining altitude, but then all of a sudden there's huge energy leak where something happens in our day that is not something that we wanted. And we allow our energy to leak out into that event where we pay too much attention to it, or we use that energy to fuel frustration or annoyance or any sort of conflict, right? And pushing against reality rather than accepting that, hey, this is the event that took place. And when there is that energy loss, it's like an airplane where the fuel is being burned and it can fuel the engines to keep the plane going, but instead it's being siphoned out to do some other thing on the airplane that has no role in keeping the airplane moving, right? So it's like energy siphoned away from the engines. The key to my psychology these days is to be so disciplined in where my energy goes that it always goes towards the engine, right? It always goes into the engine. So I'm pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward. If you do that enough, boom, you will break through. What happens, or what maybe used to happen for me that I'm trying to not do anymore, is when you hit a barrier, the energy gets siphoned out into lower vibration emotions, such as like upset, frustration, annoyance, etc., that you then go tell people like, hey, there's this barrier, this is so bad, the barrier shouldn't be there, and blah, blah. But those are energy leaks. And so the closing thought for this video is going to be, when we find ourselves in that situation, right, hit some resistance, it's like, how do you keep, I call it clean energy, right? Like, I want all my energy flowing into the engine and moving it forward. Like, I want the system clean. I don't want leakages. And in order to do that, I think it takes a lot of focus. So focused energy. If you're able to implement this in your own life, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Until next time, think deeply and put your existence first.